I imagine it's like a water version of Neo flying through to save Trinity in the second Matrix, just pulling a bunch of cars in the air. Except they're just whales like, I did the best intro before recording, but who cares about that? We're here for Godzilla Minus One with Brad.
Hello.
Milan. And some cute cats and a human in the surroundings. Godzilla Minus One was released on December 1st, 2023, with a budget between $10 and $15 million and a box office of $113,820,494. It was written, didn't have that page loaded, and directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who's also directing and I'm presuming writing Godzilla Minus Zero coming soon. Quick note on the budget. I remember back then, and part of this is fair, but everyone kept losing their minds because they're like, Godzilla Minus One was made on $15 million, but Argyle cost $200 million? No, it was, Argyle was sold for $200 million. And there's a totally different pay scale structure for movies made in Japan versus the US. So it was a whole big thing. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But anywho, speaking of numbers, we're going to get into the 420 review, which I know everybody knows what this is and really hates that I keep saying it. And Brad wouldn't be asking me to remind people if I wasn't saying this, but it's a 20-word poetic review that goes 4 words per line until we get to that magic, starting with 4 to the 20. So dope. But yeah, Brad, you want to start us off with your 420 review?
Sure. I've got Japan rebuilding post WW2. Lizard immediately ruins everything. Boats become chew toys. Government does -0. Counterpoint, have you tried kamikaze?
Oh my gosh. We're seeing Godzilla's beam shooting off in the background of Milan's video. All right, mine is, what's asked of us, what's done to us is far too much. The trauma ever evolving. Is your war over? And now that the Godzilla beam is not shooting off on your end, oh, kitty. Well,
what did he do? Nothing truly worth celebrating. Godzilla, force of nature, versus that one guy. Boom goes the mine.
And if anyone wants to include their 420 reviews, just hop over to moviesdope.com or patreon.com/moviesdope. When we ask, drop yours, will be put in here. But yeah, I feel like this may be wrestling where I'm fully outclassed in the Godzilla arena compared to you two fine people. But what are your histories with Godzilla and with Minus One?
I guess I can start. I'm a huge Godzilla kaiju fan in general, so I'm super familiar with it. I went and saw this when it came out. Like, we had planned for months to go see it at theater at its release with a group of my fellow Godzilla nerds. So I think this is one I've probably seen quite a few times, but all the way back to the black and white, traditional, old school Godzilla films. I'm all about it.
Yes. Brad?
All right, take everything Milan said. Now take like 3 steps backwards. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I've seen all the Godzilla films. I like most of them. Obviously, the Toho versions of these better films than the Americanized versions of Godzilla or Gojira. I didn't see -0 until it came out on Netflix, and I kind of regret not seeing it on like the bigger screen. I think this would have been one of those perfect movies for it. But yeah, overall, I really like Godzilla. I prefer the Japanese version of Godzilla versus the American one. American kind of went downhill since, was it the Millennium era, which is starting off like 99 or 2000 Godzilla that they advertised for Pizza Hut, Pepsi. I forgot there was a bunch of other ones that they did, and it just went downhill. I mean, it's getting, I would say the American side is getting better with like Monarch, with the show Monarch and stuff like that. So I think it's getting on the better, but I mean, in comparison to this movie, it's just not even close.
Yeah. Well, good news is there's most likely going to be a re-release of Godzilla Minus One when -0 comes out. Yesterday I saw Top Gun Maverick and Top Gun in theaters again. So if they keep on that trend, you'll get another chance. Now take Milan's and take Brad's and minus 100 steps for me, because my beginning of Godzilla was the Roland Emmerich one, baby. Godzilla's got babies and is never out of focus and is poorly rotoscoped or whatever into scenes, and the worst Americanized one as far as reputation shows. I'd be shocked if there was any American one that was worse than that one. But other than that, yeah, a little bit of the MonsterVerse, and I guess I tie, even though it's not directly related, I tie in Peter Jackson's King Kong just into that because it's kind of in the same pool. And I've seen the first season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, but haven't gotten too far into the second. And I don't know. This American one is like a weird roller coaster to me. That Gareth Edwards one was so teasy about showing Godzilla, and the human beings were so flat that I was like, God, this is a beautiful painting. Yep, that is what it's doing. But now I've seen Godzilla -1, saw Godzilla minus color in theaters too, and recently saw the Shin Godzilla 4K re-release in theaters. So as far as people much more knowledgeable than myself, like both of you, I have seen the absolute worst and the absolute best of the entire pantheon of Godzilla, and a few Americanized ones where, it's pretty good. But yeah, where does this one rank for you all? Because you all have much more history with this franchise than I do.
This one is definitely in my top when it comes to modern Godzilla films. We're talking about all time, then we have to start digging into like story and taking into account the actual work that they put into production for some of the older films. But if we just look at like the modern Godzilla films, in my top.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Overall, I'd probably put it in top 3, maybe top 5-ish. So I'd probably float around that area. I mean, I'm thinking of a couple that it'd probably be tough to beat. Some of the older ones. I'm a big fan of Mecha Godzilla, so I mean that's. And then there's the other one, and I think Milan and I were talking about it before. I'm just drawing a blank on what the name is.
Versus Mothra.
Yeah, Mothra, and the two sisters and everything.
Yeah, it's just like the wrestling conversations. This is definitely, this and Shin Godzilla are top 2, and very interesting to me how one is so very people focused and one is so very people in government focused as the result, and they both are amazing and like perfect in my eyes. But cool. Well, from the deepest depths of the ocean, Brad, have you fished up any Bradley Cooper's trivia? Bradley Cooper's much sexier and greener and got a monkey on his shirt than the real thing. I just noticed the monkey connection.
I didn't even plan that. I literally just had the shirt on all day. So this Godzilla was not only the first Godzilla film to be nominated for an Academy Award, it also won its first Academy Award.
It's only the first one? The fuck?
Yeah, for Best Visual Effects category.
It's fair.
Yeah. You had mentioned Gareth Edwards. When he watched this movie for the first time, he stated, "This is what a Godzilla movie should be like." So, I mean, talking about some competition between the two.
Or some humility. Like, that's just awesome.
Yeah, I guess two ways to look at it. Then the last thing I've got for this one is instead of creating a new Godzilla roar, what they did is they took one of the older Godzilla roars and just played over a loudspeaker and recorded it from there.
Nice.
So it saved him a few dollars right there. Look at that. That's how they kept it so far under budget.
I mean, hey, that's totally fair. Cool. Let me put the layout back. I forgot that I didn't copy over the new My Video feed, so I just disappeared from the thing. But on the Movies Are Dope rating scale, which is an S to F tier with a wild card, ayahuasca, mushroom, edible, joint, skunky, and then the wild card is Molly, where it's not great, but it's kind of great, but it's not. Where would Godzilla -1 land for y'all?
I would say definitely a mushroom for me. I don't think it's the ayahuasca tier, but I think it's really solid. It's a Godzilla movie that I would definitely recommend. I'd recommend watching it in Japanese with the dub or with the sub versus the dub, but I still think the dub is done really well too. So for it kind of balances out both. So if there's people that would prefer it to be subbed, there's a solid sub translation for it.
You're recommending doing the subtitles or doing the dubbed dialogue?
I recommend doing the subtitles, but I know there are a lot of people that don't prefer that. So this is the dub. The English dub of this movie is really good.
Milan?
I'm going to agree. I'm going to give this one a mushroom. I'm a huge fan of this particular film. I think it'll be hard for me to give it an ayahuasca simply because there are definitely some other films that I think are better qualify as that S tier rank than this one. But it's definitely one that I would rewatch. I would recommend, and I'm obviously looking forward to what comes next with the franchise.
Nice.
But I totally agree. Subtitles is the best way for this particular film.
On the topic of subtitles and dubs, I've obviously saw them in subtitles in theaters, but this last time I watched it with a dub. It's not. I think it does do a good job. But yeah, if you want that full emotion, go sub. We're gonna go trip aces because I'm going mushroom right there with y'all. If I was told that I had to put everything, all the Godzilla movies that I've seen, and make some of them S tier, this and Shin would be up there. But just in general, I'm holding hope that we get to some of those ayahuasca ones in the future. Right before we get into spoilers, I'm going to copy paste my video feed into the other ones so I can vary up the layout. And the perfect opportunity, now that we're going to get into spoilers, is to do the joke that I did before recording. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1. What? All right, spoilers. What do y'all want to talk about? This is basically Jaws with mines, with Kamikaze, with Godzilla, with a mid-credit scene, Godzilla Jr. coming. How was this for y'all, especially with your more robust knowledge of the franchise, seeing it start over almost?
I think this was a beautiful setup for what's to come. I was talking about this earlier that, when it comes to Godzilla, he's a character that is more or less universally loved. Which is already hard for a film when you have somebody who's not supposed to be a hero or a villain. He's literally just a force of nature. He's not supposed to be good or bad, to be able to find balance with the other characters. So, I really appreciated the fact that this film found that balance in such a wonderful way that left you with the feeling when the film ended, I just can't wait until that next stage, especially if you're already a fan of Godzilla and you're kind of already, on some level aware of what's coming next. You can tell that this is a step up from how we've been able to experience it in the past. So I guess specifically, we were talking about the characters. I don't know how y'all felt about the main protagonist or anything like that. I don't think his character was necessarily meant to be loved. Maybe he was, I don't know. But I think the choice of making him a character that's supposed to be the protagonist, but you also don't like him, was the perfect choice, because that's the perfect balance to a character like Godzilla, who you're going to love him whether the director wants you to or not. You're going to love that character. So you don't want to have a competing protagonist that's just I don't know where to land here. No, you're going to want to say, I still love Godzilla. I hate what he's doing, but I love Godzilla. And this guy is just kind of annoying, doing his job. It makes sense. He's afraid of Godzilla. He's a little weak, but I just felt like it was very well balanced all the way across, and kind of kept the emotion where you needed to be. But I'm also biased, so
I get what you're saying. I personally love this character and everything they went with him, because I'm so tired of this movie is so much better than any lazy example I'll be thinking of, but I'm sure can all guess or think of some movie where it's just some lazily written character who from the beginning is a good person, and they're always good and they're always going to do the right thing. And starting with a kamikaze pilot who got scared of dying, I think was a really clever way to set up a lot of ugliness later in a way that people can understand in today's world of especially with the other person coming up and be we lost this war. What's it going to do to have one less person come back home? And his parents said, come back alive. But it's also this whole huge cultural thing of this is your duty. We lose if we don't put everything we have into it. And now he's got the trauma of not only that, but the Godzilla attack haunting him, and him never believing that he's good enough for anything. So he, I'm sure, accidentally does those awful things that we see later of we're not married, I'm not your dad, of he's not trying to be a piece of shit who's going out, or tell me if it hit different for you, whose goal is, I want to hurt the feelings of this 5-year-old or 3-year-old. I'm not worth the air that I'm consuming, and you shouldn't be looking to me like I'm worth anything to you. You deserve a better father. I'm not going to curse you with my existence tied to you, but all clouded in his trauma from what he didn't do, that shame, and what he did see, and the lives that he potentially cost, very specifically by not shooting Godzilla. Although I think we can probably guess that wouldn't have changed anything if he actually shot Godzilla with the gun. But he doesn't know that, and he's got that guilt. So that's how it hit for me, and it was a movie-long redemption, emotional redemption that he went on to become the person he thought he should have been the whole time, who could be a good father or good husband. That's how it hit me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think this is a perfect way to set up the movie, to have somebody that you don't like as the main character. I do like that this movie focused more on the people aspect of it. A lot of the Japanese Godzilla movies typically focus on the people or like the government side of things, where the United States versions of Godzilla is more monster focused, more Godzilla heavy. Where this Godzilla doesn't come in until halfway through the movie, and we really only see Godzilla 3 or 4 times in this entire movie. That just proves how story driven and how people heavy this movie was versus a Godzilla movie. One of the other things that I really liked out of this movie too was the Godzilla's fire breath out of this movie. Slightly different than some other ones, so I definitely appreciated that too.
Nice. I want to ask you all about something, but I want to preface it with a little story from James Wan. He said, and I should have Googled if like what country James Wan's from. I don't know. But he said making the movie Face Off, and spoilers for the end, but at the end of the movie, John Travolta's character ends up adopting Nick Cage's character after killing Nick Cage. And James Wan said that the studio was like, that's really weird. He's adopting the child of his enemy. But James Wan explained it by saying that, and I don't know the term. For some reason, I'm thinking he said it was Ma, but I could be totally wrong. But the gist of it was, he said there's this idea that's not in Western films called Ma, where if you do the right thing and get through the story, you get everything that you needed. So in Face Off, John Travolta lost his son and ended up adopting a new son, and that helped heal him emotionally. So that was John Woo's idea. That's how it hit for me when the adoptive mother and his hopefully future wife, I'm imagining, ended up still being alive. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, all right, but okay, I get where you're going with it. But I heard a lot of people, understandably, be like, this was a perfect movie, and then they had her somehow be alive after. like I know it's impossible.
It's not. That's the best part. And anybody who like, and I, to be fair, I missed it too, but that's probably like the best ending to this film that has me the most excited, because this is the very first instance. This is the only instance where they have confirmed that a human has been infected with G cells. That is the only way she survived. And you see it at the very end in her neck.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
When Godzilla does that blast that blows her away or whatever, she's infected with his cells. So she regenerates. That's how she survived.
Okay, nobody complaining about this said that, or I didn't see anyone say this is how she survived. I just thought
it's confirmed.
It's because it's the happy ending. All right. Oh
yeah, and that's why it's so exciting, because like this is setting up for something we haven't seen in films before at all. It's the first time. So like, yeah, I want to see what's coming next with this. There has to be others who were infected. What does that mean for her? What does that mean for, the other people who were impacted by that blast? And what does that mean for this new evolution of Godzilla that we're getting ready to see? So those people can shove it, because that was amazing.
Okay, so was this in the first film, or did you see this in the trailer for the next film that she's...
It's at the very end of this film.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know the lore.
In the hospital bed, like you see it, the little black like thing coming up in her veins of her neck, and that's the G cell.
Oh, cool. I just thought it was a gimme. Like, all right, I'll look past. I didn't know there was an actual like scientifically or lore based reason for her to still be there. Cool.
That's the thing. There's not quite. This is new.
I didn't know that either. I'd seen it in the trivia, but I didn't include it because I wasn't quite sure. But yeah, the director did confirm that the black mark was G cells. So that's why
cool.
I read it but didn't understand. And now that Milan explained that, now I understand.
All right. So you say this has never happened. What you said they're Godzilla cells, but like, has G cells been used in another movie in a different context instead of
With Godzilla, he's the only one who's ever been able to utilize G cells, or has been like spoken of. Well, I mean, maybe take the back, not just Godzilla. Other kaiju have other forms of the same thing or whatever. But as far as it going to humans, I don't recall there ever being a case of it. I know for sure not in film, but I can't confirm whether or not it's included in comics. It wouldn't surprise me if there's an instance of it.
that makes it so much better that it was accounted for.
Yeah, because I think in Millennium, I think they have G cells in like the test tubes, because I think they're like bright blue in like the 99 2001. But yeah, it was never injected into a person for sure. I think they just had a sample of them because they were trying to figure out how to beat it.
All right. When you say 1999 or 2000, because I don't know, is Millennium the Roland Emmerich one that I saw, the bad US one, or is this some other film?
The Millennium, I think the Millennium area, I think was like 99 to like 2004 or something like that. I think that was when the United States took their first crack at like a major Godzilla movie. I don't remember who did it. I mean, it's not worth remembering because that movie's so awful.
That would be kind of hilarious if this franchise took something from our dog shit version and made it great. Way to make America Godzilla great again.
I did like some of these subtle callbacks to like the first era of Godzilla, with like the sounds in the background, and like the Godzilla theme song that was partially playing in the background of a lot of scenes, and it was like felt really old. It felt like they had taken like a sample from those films and injected it into this film. Obviously, this film takes place in World War II, 1944 to 46, I think it was. So it fits as a period piece, but then also it's nice that a nice callback that they're using some of the old samples from the old movies.
I also really love the neighbor where she's like, "You're a piece of shit. You don't deserve anyone's attention. You're a piece of shit. Don't do that to that kid. Why you got a kid? Fuck you. I'm not going to help you at all. But here's some rice. Don't give them water. You'll kill them. Like, here's rice." Like,
yeah, here's my valuable rice. Now go make rice gruel.
I mean, but like, truly, like, I get why she, in the context of this film and that the whole situation, why she would go so hard on him. But like, when it counted, she did the right thing at the finish line. And the teammates, the kid who's too excited, the whole job. What did you all think of their time to like sink Godzilla very quickly and then bring him back up to try to get him that way? Biologically, I mean.
For the time period that the idea was being brought up, I think it was very clever. Obviously, anyone who knows Godzilla knows it wouldn't work. But like, I think the idea was very clever. I was like, okay, all right, that's a good plan, solid plan, good effort.
It makes sense too, because the fish that when you saw Godzilla, that the deep water fish that rose to the top and were dead, they all had their tongues sticking out, because part of the depressurization is that when they die, their tongues actually fall out of their mouth. So this is that's like a normal thing. Yeah. So it happens like non-Godzilla deep water. So when deep water fish rise up to the surface, their tongues stick out. So for them to think like, hey, this is a great idea, we'll just pressurize them, and then if that doesn't work, we'll depressurize them, just like when we get the bends, that he won't be able to survive that adjustment, I think was, fantastic. I mean, it's way better than some other plans or what the government would have done, just bomb the hell out of it. Obviously, we see the plan kind of fail in the best way, kind of, but
so
it's not due to lack of trying, that's for sure.
Are the fish dying from radiation poisoning, or because Godzilla is going up so quickly that he pulls the fish up, that they die of the depressurization? Because I just assumed it was radiation poisoning, but
it's supposed to be a combination of all kinds of different things when it comes to aquatic life dying around Godzilla. Like, radiation is like one of them. I haven't read anything specifically about like him taking them under and causing depressurization, but I have read things that reference how his motions in the water like destabilizes the fish, and that causes something. So I'm sure that kind of ties into it. I mean, he's a giant creature that is rushing through water. Like, yeah, he's going to knock out something on his way.
I imagine it's like a water version of Neo flying through to save Trinity in the second Matrix, just pulling a bunch of cars in the air. Except they're just whales like, see, there was one other thing I wanted to ask about, but I don't know. It was just great. Even the part where the news reporters were on the top of the roof and like they just knew they couldn't get down fast enough and the building crumbled. I mean, if I was I don't know where they started before they started reporting on it, but I much prefer the force of nature Godzilla that we get here versus the MonsterVerse version where they're like, he's here to protect us if he doesn't step on us. But he's a good boy and he's nice. He helps us. I really appreciated the asking the soldiers to go back where they're like, we can't make you. We're just asking if you can. If you need, you can go home to your family. But that was a really intense and emotional part, and especially how it evolves into him having to find the mechanic to help him make the you have thoughts about the mechanic coming back to help with the plane?
I do. Like, it would have been one thing if the mechanic happened to be like in the group of people and they had a confrontation there and then he was helping or whatever. But the fact that they were like, yeah, we trust this guy who obviously has some issues to go out and find us the mechanic who's going to save the day. Like that, plus him being able to like locate him so easily.
Was a pretty good plan.
It's just
rage bait.
I don't know. Yeah, it just seems so unrealistic, and I understand that they put it there for the plot. Like I knew he was coming back eventually because that's why he was left alive. I get it, but they could have been more clever about how they read.
Okay.
Rage bait has two meanings there. Rage baiting Milan and this, but then also rage baiting to find the guy.
I'm not trying to rage bait Milan. What you talking about? I was talking about the letters. I will say I'm always pro being a little more subtle. So I really wish in the film, and I know like 90% of moviegoers wouldn't have caught this or whatever because they're not as obsessed about movies. But when he's showing him the bomb on the plane, and then right before they cut away, he says, "And I want to show you one more thing." I'm just like, come on, guys, don't tease something. Just be like, I don't know, have a tweak so the main guy's like, all right, what else? He's like, let me show you this. Then cut away and make it just seem routine. But as soon as he said, "Let me show you one more thing," I was like, son of a bitch, he's surviving. But I liked it. I also liked how he fucking knocked him out and like tied him up when he did get rage baited, because it just made perfect sense. And then them coming together and him seeing his redemption and him being ready to really, from his perspective, do his duty to the fullest extent and being saved from that. I just loved it. I mean, hey, if I was that guy who was all angry, I would not be volunteering for some minesweeping job, and if I was, I would be killing that guy the first chance I got if I had that big of a bone to pick. So I kind of love how he was rage baited back, because it was really, I could see why the main guy found it so important that he be the one to help, or he be the one to fix the plane.
But it didn't need to be. It could have been
one
of 1,000 people. Didn't have to be this one guy.
Editing, Brian, I'm going to be telling Brad and Milan this the next time we record, but I literally only just realized that it had to be the mechanic. That mechanic. Not just because of the emotional arc, of course, that was necessary for the main character, but for the functional plot of putting the bombs in secretly so that he could kamikaze Godzilla. It actually had to be that mechanic. If it was any other mechanic, he couldn't get them to do it privately. He couldn't keep that from other people. So not just the emotional arc, which I think we all knew, but the actual function of the plot, it had to be him. It had to be. Okay, back to it. Really awkward sending a new set of letters that'd be like, that was an April Fool's joke. He was actually really nice. He wasn't guilty. After the rage bait letters. You were going to say something?
I did like when they gave him when he got the job as shooting the mines, and how that kind of played in, how it kind of like turned his character. It started to turn his character because obviously now he's got a new group of friends and everything like that, and he's making money. And he's able to support his family. So the film makes that slight turn where you're like, okay, this guy's starting to redeem himself a little bit. And then they have the dinner at his house where they happen to mention your wife did amazing cooking or whatever they said. And then he snaps and it reverts back to like, no, she's not my wife, blah, blah, blah. So this movie does like little subtle turns for the character throughout, but then always finds a way to snap it back from you liking, or from you trying to like this guy all the way up to the end. So I thought those were like little subtle touches that this movie does really well. And it being a kaiju film that focuses more on people versus the actual monsters, unlike the dumb American version. I'm just going to keep saying that until somebody makes a good American version.
That's fair. I mean, I honestly, I'm going to get back to what you just touched on, but I think Godzilla versus Kong was good. I mean, the humans not so much, but it was I think the best one. And the main thing I didn't like about that one was when they were fighting, and then Godzilla just randomly is like, okay, bye. And then Mecha Godzilla comes out and then they fight both. I'm like, no, he was about to KO King Kong. KOKK. But he didn't. He just decided he was bored and turned around. But
that's perfect. That is perfect Godzilla behavior.
I think for me, it was that he was so clearly still alive and like he could get back up and continue a fight. I mean, you correct me. I haven't seen enough that if this is how Godzilla normally acts, then that's fine. But me not knowing enough about him, I was just like, you were there and it was the Mortal Kombat, finish him. And then he was just like, actually, I'm exiting the game. But if that's Godzilla's behavior, then that's fair.
I mean, that to me is more of I'm a dominant, superior species than anything, because that's like Godzilla being like, okay, hey, I'm acknowledging that you are a strong competitor, but I'm able to turn my back on you. Like, that is powerful. To be able to just confidently turn your back on something that has run you up and down all of the city and like beat the crap out of all kinds of stuff, and you just turned your back on it, like, I'm done now. I'm done. Like, oh, okay. Like that's Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. And then touching back,
I'm gonna cry if anything happened to King Kong. We don't want to make a bunch of people cry.
That's fine. I mean, I would have expected like a last like stomp on his chest, and then like or like put his foot on his chest, push down. You hear like a crack, and then he just like, and then walks off. But I'm just remembering it more as like he fell over. And then Godzilla just turned around bored. But I could be remembering wrong. Speaking on the more uncomfortable moments with his character, I really do love the moment, not because I'm enjoying that he's having this crisis, but because of the richness of it, when he's freaking out and thinking that this all might be just a last minute flash or hallucination where none of it's real, and he thinks that he's just about to die and he's still on the island like a moment away from getting killed by Godzilla. I know this is stupid and not connected at all, but I sometimes like randomly wonder, because I almost passed away from this, like, yeah, what if this is all just a fucking timeline where I got lucky, but there's another timeline where I didn't. I'm like, nah, there's enough fucked up shit that this isn't a dream or annoying stuff. But that scene, like, that just draws me into his character, even if I know he's not perfect, but
I think that's the point there. I mean, he is exhibiting, like, he's a prime example of a soldier with PTSD in Japan. Like, that is what his character is. And like, I think the part that like I had to keep giving him grace for is acknowledging that he's coming into this having had an encounter with Godzilla when the rest of the world hasn't yet. So that it's not like, oh, this is something that they've all known, it's come and gone several times before. Like, this is something still fairly new. And I'm like, what would I think if a giant dinosaur all of a sudden started like killing people around me or whatever? Like, that's traumatizing. And we still don't even know what caused him to try to desert initially. Like, what happened before that put him there? So he has like a double whammy now when it comes to PTSD. So, they exhibited that part like throughout the film very well. Probably the only thing that kept him on a level to where I wasn't like, I hate you. It's like, I feel for you. Okay, I'm gonna give you some grace. You're going through some stuff. Okay, it's not easy. I get it. So I agree with you.
I forgot what I was saying that you agree with me. Yeah, this is God. I Godzilla. I have no idea where they go with -0. I know it's like gonna be Godzilla Junior, but especially with movies that so heavily lean on a character's arc, I don't know where they go with the second one, and I'm so fascinated. I have full faith that they'll knock it out of the park, but this is also reminding me of the recent Blumhouse horror films where they match something supernatural like Godzilla with something very human like the post-war I mean, I know that's how Godzilla started and everything, but they bring to the forefront the post-war trauma and kamikaze guilt, where like the Mummy that recently came out was tied to having your kid kidnapped for 8 years and then brought back, like human trafficking or kidnapping. And the previous Invisible Man was tied with domestic abuse, and they tied those together and made it a lot more powerful and unnerving. But that crew on that wooden boat are really cool. Anything else y'all want to talk about before we get into the? I don't remember what's at the end.
I think my last comment, and this is just again because it wasn't until recently that I discovered the whole how she survived or whatever. When I first saw this film, I was so extremely upset the moment she died. In part because I thought she died, but also because of the fact that she sacrificed herself for him. I was so extremely angry. Like,
push him aside.
The way you go out. I was just like, it should have been him. And like all this time I was like, man, it should have been him. But knowing that the reason why she survived, I'm like, man, I'm so happy it's her. Like, I'm happy she's the one who has those G cells, like, and not him, because I don't want him to do anything like that. So yeah, that's my last bit. That's all.
I just looked it up. They've got a rough cast list, and the former kamikaze pilot and the girlfriend are still in the thing or in the cast list, so that's good. So that like restarting this, they're like not gonna tease us with the G cells and then not give it to us in this movie.
Yeah, I saw a trailer that had them in them, I believe.
Good. And then the only other thing that I hope that they do is they show us how Godzilla gets around. And I hope it's not like the Monarch or like what Kong movie was that? Kong Skull Island, where he's able to like transport through the worlds. So I hope they show us how Godzilla moves around and why he's never been seen before in this next movie. So if I could put that on my wish list.
There are so many different routes they can go with that too if they're trying to base it off of source material. So I'm now also interested in what direction they're going to go with that. I hope they show it.
Do you think it's going to look exactly like Godzilla again, or is it going to be a relatively whole new design for Godzilla Jr., since presumably
we're calling him Godzilla Jr.?
Well, because Godzilla died and then we saw the belly.
No, he didn't die. Stop saying Godzilla died.
Wait, all right, correct me if I'm wrong.
There was a heartbeat sound.
But what I saw happen was in the mid-credit scene, dead boy Godzilla, or dead girl, I don't know. Godzilla is going down, and then in the belly, there's like a baby coming out. Like, that's what I thought was growing in.
No, it's not a baby. It's him regenerating. That's the G cells regenerating. This is Godzilla regenerating.
Because I saw it in the belly, I thought it was a pregnancy or something instead of, I would have expected the head to be glowing if it was regenerating him specifically. Or her.
No, I appreciated the fact that they did it this way because it implies that Godzilla can regenerate from anything, which is something that, people have hinted at in different source materials. So this one kind of confirms that as long as there's a sizable piece of Godzilla remaining and he has enough energy source, he can regenerate.
Okay, so that was the energy source activating in their belly. Okay, I just thought it was a kid.
Well, and that's why they had the heartbeat sound in the background. I think it was also trying to imply that he was regenerating. Yeah. So,
well, I'm completely thrown. I'm more surprised by that than the G cells.
But to your actual question, though, I don't think I would be surprised if they have this new iteration of Godzilla look exactly like the first one. There's going to be some type of variation. It may not be like super drastic, but every iteration of Godzilla has something that differentiates it from.
Okay. Just something subtle, like across the eyes, like the Ninja Turtles. All right, cool.
No, it's gonna be more like Deadpool, where he has like a really tiny head and it just starts growing as it goes.
Baby legs, Godzilla.
Got baby arms. Now it's got like T-Rex arms.
I genuinely want just baby legs, but still full length arms that are bigger than the baby legs. All right, well, I'm interested where this is going to go. Compared to Training Day, do you think Godzilla -1 is better than Training Day?
I am biased. I'm going to go with Godzilla for sure. Like, this is just one of those, like, this the entire franchise for me is like right up there at the top. So it's going to always be hard to beat.
Brad?
I'm going to go with Godzilla too. I think it's a better movie, and I think it's a lot easier to recommend to a lot of other people too. Train Day is also really good, but it's hard to recommend that to certain people. Where I think if you introduce them to this Godzilla movie, it branches them into so many other movies. Shin Godzilla, Godzilla -1, Godzilla -0, and then you can start going back through the Toho series back in the 1950s and start watching the black and white ones. So I think this just leads to too many different things that people would enjoy versus Training Day, where it's kind of a one-off and it's kind of niched. So I'm going to go with Godzilla for sure.
Well, I appreciate you both saving me from having to decide for myself because I had no idea where I'd go with that. So because of that, our all-timer is also going to be Godzilla -1. And, finally, look, I'm just not going to pause. I'm going to do one big and then do it so you can try to be insane. But this movie may be a mushroom or maybe a mushroom or maybe a mushroom. But no matter what, this movie is dope because movies are dope.
Bye-bye now.
I'm living in a movie, there's a scene you gotta jump. I got my people at the viewing who all knew me selling tickets. Yeah, they're talking about the beauty. I see Scorsese outside saying this isn't cinema. Free man, I ain't doing shit tomorrow, I don't need plans. I'll be kicking it till April off for $3 grand. I don't even need the money, I just need fans.